Illusion of productivity, why you are always busy but never powerful. You have been deceived. From the moment you wake, your mind is pushed into motion. Messages demand replies. Notifications compete for your attention. Tasks pile up, each one whispering urgency, each one convincing you that movement equals progress. And so you obey. You move faster. You do more. You fill every second with action. By the end of the day, you are exhausted, yet somehow, nothing meaningful has changed. This is not an accident. This is the illusion of productivity. And if you do not see it for what it is, it will quietly strip you of power for the rest of your life. Understand this truth, the kind that Niccolò Machiavelli himself would recognize without hesitation. A distracted man is easily controlled, but a focused man is impossible to defeat. You believe you are being productive because you are constantly doing something, but power does not come from doing everything. Power comes from doing the right thing relentlessly, without interruption, without hesitation. Look closely at your day. You jump from one task to another. You answer messages while thinking about work. You scroll while pretending to rest. You start projects, abandon them midway, then chase something new. Your attention is fractured into pieces so small that none of them hold any real force. And yet you tell yourself you are working hard. This is how the modern world traps you. It rewards activity, not achievement. It celebrates busyness, not mastery. It keeps you moving so you never stop to realize that you are going nowhere. Because stillness is dangerous. Stillness forces clarity, and clarity exposes the truth that most of what you do is meaningless. The powerful understand something you have been taught to ignore. Not all effort is equal. In fact, most effort is worthless. It is noise. It is distraction disguised as importance. The illusion works because it feels productive. You check something off your list, and your mind rewards you. A small hit of satisfaction, a false sense of progress. But these small victories are carefully designed to keep you addicted to motion, not results. You are not building power. You are feeding the system that drains it from you. Consider this. If everything is important, then nothing is important. If your attention is everywhere, then it is nowhere. And if your focus is divided, your strength is divided with it. The world does not reward the man who does the most. It rewards the man who does what matters most, and ignores everything else. But that kind of thinking requires something rare. It requires the courage to do less, to reject the noise, to say no, not occasionally, but constantly. And that is where most people fail, because saying no feels like loss. It feels like you are falling behind. It feels like you are missing opportunities. But in reality, every yes you give to something trivial is a betrayal of something meaningful. Every distraction you accept is a piece of your power you willingly surrender. You must begin to see distractions not as harmless interruptions, but as calculated attacks on your potential. Every unnecessary task, every meaningless conversation, every moment spent reacting instead of acting, it is all pulling you further away from dominance. The illusion of productivity thrives on your inability to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. Urgent things scream, important things whisper, and because you are conditioned to respond to noise, you ignore the very actions that could transform your life. This is why you feel stuck, not because you lack intelligence, not because you lack ambition, but because your focus has been hijacked. You have been trained to value speed over precision, quantity over quality, reaction over intention. And until you break this pattern, you will remain exactly where you are, busy, tired, and powerless. The first step is brutal, but necessary. You must accept that most of what fills your time is irrelevant. Not slightly unimportant, not occasionally unnecessary, completely irrelevant, and once you see that, you face a choice. You can continue living in the illusion, convincing yourself that your constant motion is leading somewhere. Or you can step out of it. You can slow down, not in laziness but in precision. You can begin to question every action, every task, every demand placed on your attention. You can ask yourself a dangerous question. Does this actually move me closer to power? If the answer is no, it does not deserve your time. This is where true focus begins, not by adding more discipline, but by removing everything that weakens it. Not by working harder, but by working with ruthless intention. Because in the end, it is not the man who does everything who rises above the rest. It is the man who chooses one path and walks it without distraction, without deviation, without mercy. There is a truth most men will never accept. They believe focus is something you gain, something you build by adding more habits, more systems, more techniques. They search endlessly for the perfect routine, the perfect morning ritual, the perfect method that will finally give them control over their mind. But they are chasing a lie. Focus is not built by addition. It is revealed through elimination. The sharpest minds in history did not become powerful because they did more. They became powerful because they refused to do what did not matter. They understood that every unnecessary action, every pointless thought, every shallow distraction was not neutral, it was a form of weakness. And weakness, if tolerated, spreads. You must begin to see your life as a battlefield. Not a place of comfort, not a place of endless options, but a field where every decision either strengthens your position or weakens it. There is no middle ground. Every distraction you allow is an opening for failure. Every indulgence you justify is a crack in your discipline. This is the mindset that Niccolò Machiavelli would recognize instantly, the understanding that power is not only about what you pursue, but what you are willing to destroy. Look at your life with ruthless honesty. How many things consume your attention daily that have no real impact on your future? How many conversations drain your energy without offering value? How many habits exist simply because they are easy, because they are comfortable, because they require nothing from you? These are not harmless, they are chains, and the longer you carry them, the weaker you become. Most people underestimate the cost of distraction. They think it is just a few minutes lost here and there. But distraction is not measured in time. It is measured in fragmentation. Every time your attention shifts unnecessarily, your mind loses momentum, your depth disappears, your clarity fades. You are no longer in control, you are reacting, and a reactive mind is a weak mind. The discipline of elimination demands something most people fear. It demands sacrifice. Not temporary sacrifice, permanent removal. You must begin to cut. Cut the habits that dilute your focus. Cut the people who pull you into mediocrity. Cut the environments that make distraction effortless. Cut the endless consumption that fills your mind with noise. This will feel uncomfortable. It will feel unnatural. Because you have been conditioned to surround yourself with excess. Excess information, excess entertainment, excess connection. You have been taught that more is better, that constant stimulation is normal. But the truth is far more brutal. Every layer of excess is a barrier between you and your full potential. Imagine a blade. A dull blade struggles. It requires more force, more effort, more time to achieve the same result. But a sharp blade moves effortlessly. Precise, clean, unstoppable. Your mind is no different. Right now, it is dull not because you lack intelligence, but because it is overloaded, buried under unnecessary thoughts, meaningless inputs, and constant interruptions. Elimination is how you sharpen it, not by adding something new, but by stripping away everything that does not belong. This is where most people hesitate. They try to negotiate with their distractions. They reduce them slightly. They set limits. They create rules that they eventually break. They treat their weaknesses as if they deserve compromise. But weakness does not negotiate, it waits. And the moment your discipline slips, it takes control again. If you are serious about building focus, you cannot afford half measures. You cannot afford to sometimes eliminate distractions. You must become ruthless. You must develop the ability to look at something, no matter how enjoyable, no matter how no matter how socially accepted, and ask one question: does this make me stronger or weaker? If it makes you weaker, it must go, not later, not gradually, now. This is the difference between those who talk about discipline and those who embody it. The disciplined do not rely on motivation. They rely on structure. They design their lives in a way that removes temptation before it even appears. They do not fight distractions constantly. They eliminate them so thoroughly that there is nothing left to fight. This is power, because every moment you are not resisting distraction is a moment you can invest fully into your purpose. Think about that. No internal conflict, no wasted energy, no divided attention, just pure, uninterrupted focus directed at what truly matters. That is what elimination creates. But there is another layer most people ignore: mental elimination. It is not enough to remove external distractions. If your mind remains chaotic, if your thoughts are scattered, if your emotions pull you in different directions, you will recreate distraction even in an empty room. You must learn to cut thoughts the same way you cut habits. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every idea deserves to be explored. Not every emotion deserves to be entertained. The moment a thought does not serve your objective, you let it go. Immediately, without analysis, without hesitation. This is not suppression. This is control. And control is what separates the focused from the defeated. Because, in the end, the world is not conquered by those who try to manage everything. It is conquered by those who have the discipline to remove everything that stands in their way until only one path remains. And that path becomes impossible to ignore, impossible to escape, and impossible to abandon: emotional control. The hidden force that destroys focus. You believe your greatest enemy is distraction. You are wrong. Distraction is only the surface. The real force that shatters your focus, that weakens your discipline, that pulls you away from your purpose again and again, is your inability to control your emotions. Understand this clearly. Your emotions are not harmless. They are not just feelings that pass through you without consequence. They are commands, and if you do not control them, they will control you. This is why so many people fail, even when they know exactly what they should be doing. They sit down to work, but they don't feel like it. They plan their goals, but doubt creeps in. They start strong, but frustration appears the moment things become difficult. They lose momentum, not because they lack intelligence or skill, but because their emotional state shifts, and with it, their actions collapse. This is the hidden weakness that destroys focus, and it is far more dangerous than any external distraction. Because you can eliminate distractions from your environment. But if you cannot command your internal state, you will carry chaos within you wherever you go. The mind, when left undisciplined, becomes a battlefield of impulses. One moment you feel motivated, the next you feel tired. One moment you are confident, the next you are uncertain. One moment you are focused, the next you are searching for escape. And so, you follow these shifts. Without realizing it, you become a servant to your own emotions. This is what keeps you average. Because focus demands consistency, and consistency is impossible when your actions are dictated by how you feel in the moment. The powerful understand something you have been taught to ignore. Emotion is not a guide. It is a variable. Unstable, unreliable, easily manipulated. To build unbreakable focus, you must detach your actions from your feelings. You must learn to act with precision, regardless of your emotional state. This is the discipline that Niccolò Machiavelli would consider essential. The ability to remain cold, calculated, and controlled, even when everything inside you demands comfort, reaction, or escape. Think about how easily your focus is broken. A single moment of boredom, and you reach for stimulation. A single moment of frustration, and you slow down or quit. A single moment of doubt, and your confidence disappears. These are not random occurrences. They are patterns, and every time you obey them, you reinforce them. You train your mind to associate discomfort with avoidance. You teach yourself that the moment something feels difficult, you have permission to stop, to delay, to distract yourself. This is how weakness is built. Not through one major failure, but through thousands of small emotional decisions that slowly erode your discipline. To break this pattern, you must first see emotions for what they truly are. Temporary signals, nothing more. They are not facts, they are not truths. They are not instructions you are obligated to follow. They are impulses. And impulses can be ignored. This is where control begins. The moment you feel resistance, you do not stop, you continue. The moment you feel doubt, you do not retreat, you act anyway. The moment you feel discomfort, you do not escape. You lean into it. Because every time you override your emotional response, you strengthen your authority over your own mind. And every time you give in, you weaken it. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. This is why they remain stuck. Because motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes without warning. It cannot be relied upon. And when it disappears, so does their effort. But the focused individual operates differently. They act first. They move without waiting. They execute regardless of mood, regardless of energy, regardless of internal resistance. Because they understand that action creates clarity, not the other way around. Emotion follows behavior, not the reverse. This is a dangerous idea for the undisciplined mind, because it removes all excuses. You can no longer say, "I don't feel ready." You can no longer say, "I'm not in the right mindset." You can no longer say, "I'll do it later when I feel better." Those are not reasons. They are weaknesses disguised as justification. And if you continue to accept them, your focus will never stabilize. But emotional control is not just about ignoring negative feelings. It is also about controlling positive ones. Excitement, pride, overconfidence, these two can destroy focus because they make you careless. They make you believe you have already achieved something when you have not. They tempt you to celebrate early, to relax, to lose the intensity required to continue. This is why true control is not about suppressing emotion. It is about neutrality, calm, steady, unaffected. You do not rise too high, and you do not fall too low. You remain centered, because extreme emotions, whether positive or negative, pull you away from precision. And precision is the foundation of focus. Imagine a mind that does not react impulsively, a mind that does not chase comfort, a mind that does not hesitate in the face of difficulty. That is a mind that cannot be broken. That is a mind that does not depend on circumstances. That is a mind that executes with consistency, regardless of what is happening internally or externally. This is what makes someone truly dangerous in a distracted world. Not talent, not intelligence, but control. The ability to remain fixed on a goal while everything else, thoughts, feelings, distractions, tries to pull you away. And when you reach this level of control, something changes. Focus is no longer something you struggle to maintain. It becomes your default state, because there is nothing left inside you that can disrupt it.